As many of you know, this is our monthly best practices masterclass. And for a couple of folks that are new to, or this is their first time on the masterclass, this is a monthly event, if you will, that we have that we designed because we wanted to bring our community of coaches together and ultimately share some ideas, not just from me to you, but between each other. So in these master classes, I will either tee up a topic or some ideas. Sometimes, most of the time it's related to Coachmetrix. Sometimes it's not necessarily related to Coachmetrix. The intent is to build a community and share insights across the amazing coaches that we have in our community. And today's topic, we're going to talk about extending the runway of client engagements. This is something that comes up quite a bit in our conversations as we reach out to coaches, and even in some of the requests that we get as Robin's running demos and we're talking to different people about how to grow their practices. Just a quick reminder, we had a great session in May and it was really, really interactive. I know a few of you there on the call. Today we're on that call. Back then, and several people that were on that masterclass reached out to us to say, hey, what was that assessment tool that this person mentioned or that person mentioned? So if you get a chance, take an opportunity to listen to that. Jonathan, you shared a number of great insights that people asked about as well. So hey, Jonathan, you have a certification coming up, I think, with one of your tools. Do you want to maybe make a plug for that at this point?
Okay, shameless plug here. Yes.
And by the way, this is completely unplanned. I didn't even know you were going to be on the call today.
No, yes, I will affirm that we did not plan this.
Okay,
yes,
great.
I am a managing partner and a trainer, the coach specific trainer for the Harrison assessment, which is a behavioral assessment that focuses on 175 different behavioral tendencies, traits, preferences. Now, the reason I think this is especially helpful for coaches is because preference and behavioral tendencies are directly tied to satisfaction and job engagement. And behavioral and behavior and tendencies are also all changeable, unlike a lot of other assessment tools that measure something that isn't changeable and therefore can't be rooted in what you have going on in the course of the overall training process, the overall coaching process, rather. And my firm runs a training around the Harrison assessment for coaches that is 30 hours. It's designed as a practicum to help you use the Harrison in coaching situations through multiple different lenses. It's flipped classroom, so it's partly video on demand, partly live sessions for processing. The next Harrison for coaches starts in the third week of September. It starts on Monday, September 20th. And if you want to know more, I'll put my email in the chat area, and I'd be happy to talk with you about that. And we will, if you tell me that we talked about this in the Coachmetrix conversation, we'll knock 15% off your registration fee. The fee for that training, which includes the Harrison assessment certification and some Harrisons you can use for your client, is $20.95. But like I say, we'll knock 15% off that if you tell me we met here at the Coachmetrix
awesome
engagement. So
thanks, Jonathan. And part of what I think that's in line with what we're trying to do here in Coachmetrix is people have a ton of resources and experiences, and we want to connect people. And you may find someone in a state that you need a coach for or a trainer for, and so over time, we hope that the platform will help make those connections. But in the meantime, we want to make some of those connections here on this masterclass. So thanks, Jonathan, and thanks everyone for joining. We are taking the summer off for masterclasses. So if this is your first one, we'll see you in early September. With travel schedules and vacation schedules, we've just found that July and August is a nice time to step back and reflect on what we're doing. We hope to come back in September with some new ideas. So we welcome your feedback and ideas on topics we should cover, or the way in which we deliver this. Is Zoom the right method? Should we be doing live streams? Should we be doing this in other methods? So we may come back with some enhanced formats And we are open and open ears to your ideas on what we should be covering. Our roadmap for today, as I mentioned earlier, is really about how do you extend the runway on your coaching engagements? And specifically, we think there's some features in Coachmetrix that can help you do that. So how do you continue to add value so that you are moving deeper into the client organizations and serving more people, making a bigger impact, both in your client organizations in the world. So today, we're going to talk about maybe a couple things to do to position Coachmetrix before an engagement, what to start thinking about toward the end of an engagement that can help extend that runway, and then two quick topics we want to touch on at the end. We have a new feature that we want to just very quickly show you. We have now the ability to anchor the rating function with some different labels. And then we'd love your input at the end of the session on how do we build more community, and how do we, what are some things that we should be thinking about with future best practices masterclasses. Just a quick note on Zoom, please stay on mute. That just helps us to minimize the background noise. It also alerts me on when you've got something to say. So this is intended to be entirely interactive. Come off of mute at any point in time. Your perspectives are really key in this conversation. So if you've seen this masterclass before, you know that we built this platform because we needed it in our coaching practice. And what we started to discover in our work years ago was, especially in our long-term leadership development and executive coaching programs, that when people were in these programs and were working in a paper-based environment, they were not building action plans to a level that was really driving behavioral change. And we also started to notice that people were less and less becoming reliant on paper and pen, and were requesting for us to come up with the ability to have digital capabilities in our programs. And we also started to notice a trend where we needed to measure beyond the typical smiley sheets at the end of a coaching session or at the end of a training session. And so we wanted to start honing in on behavioral measurement. This is a platform that enables all three of those things to happen. It's built by coaches and it's made for coaches. So if you have any input and feedback, we listen intently. We can't promise we'll do everything that you ask for, but we do promise that we listen. So help us shape the future of Coachmetrix. We love your input. Things you like, things you don't like, features you'd like to see in the future. So let's start talking about extending the runway. And I couldn't build this topic without thinking about how do you position Coachmetrix before the engagement even begins, so that when you start to come toward the end of your engagements, you've already maybe planted some seeds. And so I'm going to tee up a couple of ideas here and then open it up for you on how do you plant some seeds in your engagements, whether it's with Coachmetrix or not, so that you can continue to serve your clients deeper and deeper in their organizations. So a few things. Part of what we're experiencing here is we've lived in this virtual world for the past 15 months. And as organizations are now starting to think about the future of work, the last 15 months have been really quite stable. It was, certainly rough in March, April, May last year as people were trying to adapt to this environment of remote work. But over time, what we found, and my guess is you have too, is people were quite productive over the last 15 months working in a virtual world. We're now entering a new area of unpredictability where organizations are starting to talk about the future of work and how do we bring people back to work. And 60% of people say that they want to work at least one day in a remote environment. How do we do that, this hybrid environment? Well, part of what you can do as you're selling into organizations is let your executive sponsors know that you already have a coaching platform that works in a virtual world. It becomes, if you will, the central hub for everything in an environment, in a coaching environment, whether you're coaching on site or whether you're coaching people remotely. So great way to position Coachmetrix early in your selling process. And I'd say the other big message to think about, we have heard pretty consistently now, Robin, I think people are selling engagements because they have the ability to measure whether people are changing as a result of the work. And we're just hearing more and more about that from some of our subscribers. So position that up front. We measure behavioral change with the same level of discipline that we measure anything else in the business, or we have a tool that helps prove that people are changing as a result of our work. It's a great way to set your coaches and your business up for success. And then another idea to plant in terms of packages, Coachmetrix can enable this, and it's not dependent on Coachmetrix, but you can also give your clients a sense of certainty in that you have solutions beyond the coaching engagement that you have just sold, a 6-month engagement or 3-month engagement. There are some follow-on what's next opportunities, and we'll talk about a few of those later in our conversation today. So strategy number 1 is, in terms of extending your runway, think about that early in the engagement and think about some messages that you can sell. One other strategy early in the engagement, and then I'll open it up for some conversation, is sell beyond the coaching conversation. Of course, the coaching conversation is central to what we do and so critical and powerful. And we can also position with Coachmetrix the ability to sell more than just the coaching conversation. The action planning is online. We measure behavioral change. We have tools and resources and frameworks online inside of Coachmetrix so that people can access those from any device that they have. You can create mini courses, assignments, journaling, reminders. You can check in online between your coaching engagements through either the discussion feature or the resources feature or the goal setting. The goal setting feature. You're offering more than just the coaching conversation. It's a package of services that extends the value of what you can bring to your client. So let me pause there for any conversation about either these two strategies, or what are you doing to plant the seeds of extending a coaching organization's coaching engagement early in the selling process. Let's open it up for some discussion. Gaia, or John, it sounds like you've got maybe some thoughts.
Yes. One of the things that I have leveraged, not as much as I should, and let me point that out, is that I've been utilizing this to sustain a current engagement that I'm working on now. And it was accepted very well because in the past, I used to use a lot of documents in Word documents and Excel and whatnot, and really the stuff scattered all over the place. Mm-hmm. And when I mentioned this program, both of my clients that I work with very, very closely were very excited about this, and that it was in an organized manner and they could follow the work that I was doing for the sponsor for each one of their team members, because I do a lot of team coaching and transformational work and also talent optimization. So I really was never in the past able to really show a plan going forward that was in front of them at all times, where they could just go in and look and see what all the action plans, what the measurements, and how we were going on. I'm learning the program a lot better and really fully want to institute from now, not only now with my clients, but going forward, because I'm really ramping up my sales and marketing in the third quarter.
Great.
So
Thanks,
that's how I'm seeing. And by the way, these master classes, these are excellent. I learned a tremendous amount in these classes. So thank you for doing them, Sal. Keep doing it.
All right, we will. Thanks, John. And we're open to any ideas you have. Well, that's great. There's an organizational aspect here, right? And so many times we put our clients through the ringer as they're searching their emails and looking for Word documents or downloading pre-coaching session Word documents and having to type in a Word document, save it, upload it, email it, stuff's in Google Drive and all these disparate locations. Coachmetrix can help keep the engagement organized. And it's a great selling point as well. It becomes that central hub, if you will. How about others? What are you doing, whether it's with Coachmetrix and or beyond Coachmetrix, to really plant the seeds for later in the engagement to be able to extend your offerings?
So, Sal, I just wanted to share that here in the Philippines, when I use this, because I do freelance work aside from my own individual coaching work. The most recent engagement I had was with our central bank, and I've been trying to slowly introduce them to the Coachmetrix platform as a way for them to keep the documentation readily available for them to see what's happening. Government's kind of slow in terms of documentation and digitally, and trying to find the security around it. So these are just in terms of a challenge. Uh, the main obstacle I've had is really more about how they perceive the security of the platform
Mm,
for their organization.
yes.
And so that's where it is. But otherwise, when I'm able to show them some of the things that I've been able to play around with, they find it exciting that there's one place that I could provide that documentation for them to see.
It's great. So still that central hub component is a selling point for you. Great.
Yes.
Any other thoughts, Anjani, Natasha, Jonathan, Adriana? How do you position, or whether it's Coachmetrix or not, to extend deeper in an organization early in your coaching engagements? Jonathan.
I use a drop-down menu in the proposal that I use a thing called a fresh proposal. That's a service you can. I use a fresh proposal that has check boxes. Now, I don't give them the option about whether or not they use Coachmetrix or some other. There's one other. I have one other tracking platform that I use occasionally, that I use based on what the client wants. I don't give them an option about, do you want to use this or not? But I do plant other. It's the first of the upsell opportunities. It comes in the proposal saying, hey, you can do the basic coaching session, or there's these other options. There's an assessment. There's a, so that plants the seed in that process. And then I do also refer back to that proposal in the midpoint check-in about the engagement. And then I also ask for 30 extra minutes when we have 2 sessions left on the engagement. I ask for 30 extra minutes at the end of that session, and we review back to the proposal about, hey, what might be coming next, so that I have an opportunity to put the next proposal in front of the client.
Yeah, it's terrific. So early in the process, and you're assumptively saying, hey, we use a platform, whether it's Coachmetrix or the other platform that you're using. And we have found that coaches are most successful with Coachmetrix when you just assumptively go in and say, hey, this is part of how we coach.
Right. And the way I decide, is it Coachmetrix or is it the other thing, is the other platform has a very niche specific AI tool that some of my clients insist on. And if that client is in that group, I use that platform. If it's not, I use Coachmetrix.
Gotcha. Yeah,
So
makes sense. And then you're using some checkpoints along the way to ask your client some additional questions, continue to plant the seeds, refer back to that original proposal. So you're starting early and then reminding them that there are other services that you can extend into, whether it's assessments or anything else. Great. Awesome, Jonathan. Thank you. Let's, Adriana, you're on mute. There you go.
I'm sorry, it took me a while to get on board.
Where are you calling in from, Adriana?
I'm from Chile.
From Chile. Okay, great. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. I'm totally new to this Coachmetric thing. I would like to learn more, of course.
Great.
And I think it's quite interesting to have some way of having them visualize results of what we're doing. So that's why I have all this interest in the Coachmetric methodology, software, or whatever you call it.
Yes.
The thing is that, do you have this version in Spanish or not?
It's a great question. We don't yet, and we get that question quite often. We know that at some point we need to have multiple languages. It's not on the short-term roadmap right now, Adriana.
And what about using it and having me, in my case, let's say I use it in Chile. Is it feasible to, because that for me, English is not the issue. I can translate it myself, but is that feasible or not?
Yeah, absolutely. We have clients all over the world using it, from Australia to Singapore, India, South Africa. We have a fair number of subscribers there. And then, of course, across the United States, some in South America, Mexico, Canada. So we have a global network of coaches that are using the tool.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll
awesome.
find out more about the tool.
Sounds good. And we have Robin runs demos every week, and we can put a link to our demos in the chat box, and feel free to sign up any point in time that's convenient for you.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Adriana. So let's talk about some other strategies as we start moving toward the middle or the end of the engagement. And I have a number of strategies here. The first 4 are related to measurement. So I might walk through these 4 strategies and then pause, open it up for conversation. Of course, at any point in time, just jump in with any comments or thoughts. So one strategy is, let's just say as an example, you've got a 6-month coaching engagement. You might start your pulse feedback process maybe somewhere around month 3, depending on your coaching methodology. Might even start later in the process. But one idea is to extend the pulse feedback beyond the end of the engagement. So if you have a 6-month engagement, you may have some additional rounds of pulse feedback go out month 7, month 8, month 9. And it does a few things. One, it just adds additional accountability for your client. Number 2, it gives you a reason to check back in with your client and to check back in with your executive sponsor to show them the value that you're providing even beyond the end of the engagement. So again, one strategy is you can adjust the duration and the frequency of the pulse feedback that goes out. Why not extend it beyond what you're contracted for as a means to stay in touch with your client? So that's a measurement strategy, number 1, if you will. Similar to that, a lot of times you get to the end of, let's say, a 6-month, maybe a 9-month or 12-month engagement, and the action plan that your coachee has been working on is, it's really come to fruition. Maybe they've made some progress on the goals that they're working on, or they're at a point where they think they want to extend into some other goals. It's a great opportunity to give them a chance to create a new or refreshed action plan. You can do any number of things. Maybe you go back to that original 360 data, or maybe it's a Harrison assessment or some other assessment that you've used early in the process where you've really gleaned on some of the behaviors that you're focused on, and go back and look at those assessment results from when the assessment was first taken. Or maybe you leverage another complementary or related assessment tool. One other possibility is to take a time to 360. So there's an opportunity to have your client create a new action plan in Coachmetrix, and even calibrate that action plan between the coachee and their manager, a joint conversation toward the end of the engagement, to ask the question that Jonathan mentioned earlier, which is, what's next for you as a leader? One of our subscribers just got toward the end of a coaching engagement with some clients at the New York Times, and because of the work they're doing around the measurement and extending the measurement out, the client came back and said, hey, can we extend this engagement for another 3 to 6 months? What would that look like? So it opens up conversation to talk about what's next. And then one other comment around the action plan feature: you can continue to stay in touch with your client through the action plan feature. Remember, there's that comment feature. And so you might check in or add a comment in your coachee's action plan to just check in. Hey, how's this goal going? Are you still making progress? Have you checked in with your supporters, things like that. So strategy number 2 around measurement is have your client create a new action plan. Strategy number 3 related to this is start a new round of pulse feedback. Maybe there's a new set of action plan that's in place, and you want to continue to measure behavioral change based on that new plan, or potentially continue to measure behavioral change based on the previous action plan. Again, you can extend the number of pulse feedback rounds beyond what you originally set. If it's based on the same action plan, you can't necessarily change the scale, but you can continue to add more pulse feedback rounds. So it's another way to extend the engagement. Maybe you get paid for it, maybe you don't, but it also could be sticky to continue to build that relationship and nurture that relationship with your clients. Many of our subscribers are using Coachmetrix with an executive team or a team of people. And so one additional strategy that you might add is toward the end of that team engagement, you can have that team create an action plan based on the behaviors that that team should be focused on, and then start to measure ongoing. Again, it's a great opportunity to continue to nurture that team or continue to stay in touch with leaders on that team. And so one, simply identify the behaviors that the team needs to work on, create an action plan, and then start measuring ongoing. It's a great opportunity to either sell some ongoing maintenance sessions with those teams, and or to upsell a phase 2 or phase 3 engagement with that executive team. Human behavior in the workplace is like behavior anywhere. We have to continue to nurture relationships on teams in order to have healthy and aligned dynamics. So the team scorecard is something that has really worked well with a number of our subscribers. So let me pause there. There's 3 or 4 different types of measurement strategies. How are you, if you are using either the action planning feature or the pulse feedback feature, to either upsell into an extended engagement or continue to stay in touch with your clients? Is anyone doing anything similar to what I just proposed?
So we as a team use Scorecard. It's an in-house created measure. And we use it either within teams, or we use it at 180 or 90 degree, depending on which direction we're working in. But they're customized to 5 to 6 people kind of teams. And we've actually been exploring how to work on larger teams. So I have an HR background, so I've used sort of HR scorecard indicators and converted them into coaching scorecard indicators. But it's not really the most robust system. And therefore I got interested in, as a team, we were discussing whether we should explore some other kind of measures. So
Great.
Yeah, so that's what we use.
Yeah, terrific. So you're doing something in-house, and that's providing the ability to measure ongoing, even beyond the end of your engagement, Anjani?
Yes, even beyond the end of the engagement,
Nice.
We have 2 calls. So if it's a 6-month engagement, then we've put in a call after 45 days, first one, and then after 60 days, the next one.
Yeah.
And then we kind of, move the peg, if I may, on the scorecard to see where we are from where we started.
Terrific.
And so it's sort of like, how in HR and training you do gap analysis.
Yes.
So the theory of gap analysis and HR scorecard, which was, used to make performance appraisals in the past, a combination of that is something what we've created. I think it's pretty novice, but it does the job for us at the minute.
Yeah.
We're able to communicate something in more specific than, so quantity versus, and we're able to give that quantitative feedback, if I may, and
Nice.
and that kind of makes people happy because they're able to see the move.
Yeah, that's terrific. Yeah, great. Thank you for sharing that. It's really interesting to see how you're leveraging both the gap analysis and the HR scorecard methodologies. Terrific. All right, I'm going to keep going. Another way to extend the engagement is through the discussion feature. Many of you may know, some people don't know this feature exists. You can create templates in Coachmetrix. So if you have any kind of repeatable message that you want to send to clients that are really discussion related messages. So discussions in Coachmetrix terms is a conversation between the coach and between their coachee. And so you can create a template that might be repeatable, and then you can create a discussion from that template and then schedule that template in the future. So let me give you an example. In this particular case, if you're looking at my screen, this coaching engagement closed out on May 26, 2021 with this fictitious person, Autumn. And the coach wants to stay in touch. The engagement has a clear ending. There's no clear next phase in the engagement. But as we know, nurturing clients is a great way to find some future work. And so this coach, and in this case, it was me setting this up, scheduled a July 5th discussion message to go out based on the last conversation that we had. And so it's just a great way to sort of set it and forget it. And you could even set a series of nurture sequences to check back in. Hey, how is your action plan going? Have you remembered to follow up with your supporters so that you're helping change both perception and behavior? Anything that's relevant. And so you could do this at the end of any coaching session, but it's particularly helpful toward the end of the engagement because we all get busy and we start focusing on other clients. This gets the messaging out, it's pre-scheduled, and is a great stay in touch and nurturing way to do that. So whether it's through Coachmetrix or others, how are you staying in touch and nurturing your clients at the end, at the completion of a coaching engagement? Hi, Pat, Christina. Any thoughts from your end? Christina, how about you?
Hold on one second. Let me. find it.
Okay, no worries.
Sorry, I was on an interview and it went over. I was
That's
interviewing.
okay. Thanks.
over,
Good to
so-
see you again. Welcome.
You too. So I just came in at the tail end of that and I'm doing everything new with Coachmetrix right now. And so I don't have anything to ask.
Okay, no worries.
Well,
Well, that's totally fine. Check out that template feature that and combined with the ability to schedule those discussions in the future, that can help. IPEC, how about you? Anything on your side?
Hi, everyone. It's pronounced EPEC.
EPEC. And where
yeah.
are you calling from, EPEC?
I'm calling from Virginia,
Okay.
United States, but I do my coaching primarily in Japan
Okay.
and some in Turkey. So this is my very first interaction with Coachmetrix. So I just scheduled a demo with Robin.
Terrific.
Yes, but staying in touch. So I say once a coach, always a coach. I
Mhm.
do offer these laser coaching or coffee with coach option with my clients, and I typically offer them on a pro bono basis. They have me on Coach 911 basically, and that creates the continued relationship, and they reach out to me and then continue creating new engagements for themselves or for their team. So that investment in relationship seems to work best. So if my offer at this time. Thank you.
It's a terrific strategy. And there's like this flywheel effect that starts happening, you know, as you work with more and more people and you continue to stay in touch with people, even after the engagement is ended. It never fails to amaze me how people will come back to you years later. You know, they may be at other organizations. We're currently doing some work with an organization in Southeast Asia from client work we did in 2006. But we've stayed in touch with clients over the years, and that's really helped to nurture those relationships and ongoing work. Strategy number 6. How about creating a subscription offering? So let's say you've got a group of leaders that you're coaching, and their engagement comes to an end, but there's always that question, what's next? Well, if there aren't huge budgets, what if you had some kind of subscription that people could buy into and Coachmetrix becomes your platform? Once a month, they get a new resource from you. And the resource includes maybe a short video, a PDF with an exercise and some reflection questions. And maybe there's an online check-in with your coachee, either using the discussion feature, maybe the goal setting feature, and you can do some time efficient check-in through some of the Coachmetrix features. And maybe there's an action plan and ongoing measurement as part of that. And so we're seeing more of our more of our subscribers starting to think about how do we create some kind of subscription offering that will create ongoing revenue, may even cover the fees of your Coachmetrix monthly Coachmetrix account. This is oftentimes, you could maybe give your clients multiple packages that they can select from. Whether Ipek, you mentioned the Coach 911, maybe this could be sort of wrapped up into that, or maybe there's something that includes more of a targeted coaching package that includes Coachmetrix and some resources and some quick laser coaching sessions. There's any number of ways to think about packaging your ongoing coaching offerings, but having a online subscription offering could be one way to offer something as well. There are a number of companies out there right now that are making some waves in the marketplace. BetterUp is one example. I don't know if any of you have heard of BetterUp. They're kind of the way I refer to them is they're kind of the like coaching app plus a coach. And some of you may even be coaching for BetterUp. But I think what you can offer them or compete with in BetterUp is you can add your own personalized content into Coachmetrix. Whereas, I think BetterUp's coming to the table with generalized leadership tools and framework and content. So you can be the coach, you have the app, why not create a subscription at the end of a engagement? All right, let me pause to see if there's any reactions or questions about that idea, or maybe you've tried something similar to this with or without Coachmetrix.
So Lumina Spark, the psychometric tool that is picking up now in the market, it's only 10 years old, has actually multiple self-reflection tools within its scope. It also has journey to composure. It has the, and you can schedule a lot of things through Lumina Spark's website portal itself. It's not as robust as what you're talking about, but it's actually spreading its wings in terms of adding new spheres every now and then. And they also give out a workbook alongside the assessment, actually.
Yes.
And that's pretty strong in terms of what you can reflect on as you go forward. But it's not AI, it's more support tool, if I may.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And so, I think you could even capture those ideas and think about creating a series of resources inside of Coachmetrix and leverage the content. What I know about coaches and trainers is we have a ton of content. So why not leverage that? Use those support workbooks or frameworks or tools in conjunction with, or insert them into a resource in Coachmetrix and offer those on a periodic basis as some kind of subscription offering. Any other thoughts on this strategy? All right, one final strategy that we have here is create a case study. A before and an after. This image, by the way, is from one of my former coaches, Jane Warlow. If some of you may know Jane, she's just a terrific, incredible coach and human being. But this whole concept of where were people before the engagement and what's been the transformation? How do they show up after the engagement? And those case studies can be really powerful, both internally with your clients as well as externally on your websites or for your other marketing purpose. So what's been the transformation? And inside of that transformation, that case study, why not include some of the Coachmetrix data that you've captured? And why not take that data, package it in a neat way, get a graphic designer, and then share that data with your executive sponsors? If you can prove your results, if you can prove the impact of your coaching, you'll be much more likely and prepared to sell that next phase engagement or have your services rolled out deeper into the organization. So let me pause there. There's 7 different strategies for after the engagement, 2 strategies for before the engagement. How else are you nurturing your clients so that you can extend the runway in your coaching engagements. Any questions about what I've shared or additional ideas to share with each other?
Now, one of
John.
the things that I'm working on right now, this John, one of the things I'm working on rolling out here in the next 30 to 60 days is I have a learning academy. And of course, I work with small businesses, which small means under 50 employees. So I'm taking some of these, and I really never thought of Coachmetrix in actually taking this work and actually incorporating it in my learning site, because I issue
Nice.
a new product every month. So when somebody joins my group, it's $97, and they continually, it's more or less do it yourself. And or I can work with them at another level, or I can go one-on-one, or I can deliver to them my signature programs, which are three main components. So I really never thought about adding this into my learning academy. So thank you
Yeah.
for bringing that up.
Yeah, nice. I think that's a terrific idea. Maybe a great value add. You're already paying for the platform. It doesn't cost you more to add more of your participants or create more projects. Let us know how that goes, John. It'd be interesting to hear
I will.
the value that you might gain there.
I will.
Great. Awesome. Any other ideas? We have 2 other topics to cover today, but I want to make sure we get any other discussion out there. If you've got some questions, ideas, insights into how to extend the runway in your engagements. Deepak.
Sorry. I work for a government entity, and I have to create results, reports, outcomes on a quarterly basis. So I'm looking at this for an individual's perspective for the coachee, and then compiled information to present to the organization sponsor, sort of summarize the coaching engagement. Would it be possible to sort of gather it all for a larger group of clients for one sponsor, if that makes sense?
Yeah, there's a couple ways to do that. We have a reporting function that allows you basically to export data and export activity into an Excel or CSV file. So you can take that and format that however you want. The other option that we use quite often is just quite literally take screenshots of either individual pulse feedback data, or at the project level, you can see group level pulse feedback data. So you could use both sets of data, and they can be anonymized or not anonymized, depending on how you take the screenshot. So downloaded data and format how you want, or screenshot inserted into a PowerPoint or other graphic design of your choice.
Yeah, thank you. So this would sort of hook the organization to the coaching if we can demonstrate the value for them. So
That's exactly right. And if you plant the seeds at the beginning, which is why we started there, part of how you can differentiate yourself with Coachmetrix is by saying, hey, we can measure behavioral change. And at some point in the future, not too far future, we also intend to have an ROI feature built into the system. So we're trying to position Coachmetrix as your go-to platform, especially around the measurement component. John, I think I saw you come off mute. Or you're good to go. Oh,
Yeah, that was for before. I'll go back on mute.
okay. Okay, great. Terrific. I didn't know if you had additional thoughts. All right. Well, I've got 2 other quick items. One is Robin has been working incredibly hard to roll out this new feature. And Robin, you and I didn't plan this, so I'm happy to speak to it. But is there anything you want to say about the new anchoring feature? And I can certainly show it here inside of Coachmetrix as well.
Yeah, so we had heard from coaches quite often that they really wanted the option of being able to provide some descriptions for the anchorings to really get everybody on the same page, to make sure that both the participant and the supporters were clear on what some of these values meant. So it is, I should caution you that it is available for new opportunities. So it's not retro, it could not be retrofitted for those that are already underway. But for those new opportunities, once you select the format and the scale, you are presented with the different options available to you to anchor those values. So as Sal's demonstrating, with the traditional format, and it looks like the 1 through 7 scale, there are those that are commonly used. You also have the default option to select no definition, which will default to that thumbs up or thumbs down. So just as it is today. But it does give you some different options, again, to really just make sure that your supporters and your participant are very clear on what it is by each of these values. So once you make these selections, and again, it just falls in line with the way you establish those settings today. And then, Sal, if you can keep following through, you will see how that displays when you set it up, and then ultimately on the pulse feedback survey itself.
Oops. Let's see, what did I miss here? So I selected, oh, I didn't select the scale. Okay, so if I select the scale -3 to +3, and then you want me to go to the pulse feedback page, Robin?
Yeah, so you don't have, you don't have a participant?
I don't know. Let me just see if I can set up one really quickly, and then I can go into the participant pulse feedback. Yeah, I guess we don't have enough
Either.
set up here. Well, we'll, if you would like a demo, we can certainly provide that for you. And also inside of our knowledge base, Robin has built out some narratives and screenshots and things like that. So we're excited about that feature. That's been one that subscribers have been asking for. Awesome. Thanks, Robin. One final question before we wrap up. We would just want to open up, see if you've got any feedback. How would you like to see these best practices masterclasses evolve when we come back in September? Are there certain topics you'd like to see? Are there different platforms or ways of delivering these that would be more helpful for you? If you've got any initial thoughts, we certainly would love to open that up for dialogue, and there'll also be a survey that goes out after our conversation today. Anything come to mind? Tony?
I like the choices that y'all have given us so far. I learned something in each session, and happy to report that I have gotten our consultants to use Coachmetrix more and more and more, not only in team efforts, but on individual coaching as well. So I'm pushing it on my end, and people are letting me set it up for them and get rolling. So I'm happy with that. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I look forward to more master classes.
That's great. And for folks that haven't met Tony yet, part of the way they're structuring in their organization is, Tony, you're kind of an administrator for the system. Is that right? And then
yes,
you add coaches in and you're helping them through the process. So if you've got a team of coaches, that's a pretty common strategy.
I put in all the goals. I put in all the, I'm using templates, Sal. I'm using templates.
Awesome.
And so that was a challenge. But yeah, I set up everything for them and go, here, go off and do your good thing. And that's what they do.
Okay, great. That's terrific to hear that feedback. Thanks, Tony. Any other feedback come to mind? Christine, I know you're kind of new to our community. Is there anything you'd like to see as a newer member?
I just really, really appreciate these masterclasses because I get to hear how people work differently. And so when you are a solopreneur, you can very, very often, I feel isolated. So I just appreciate the community much more than in other platforms that may offer you things. They offer you kind of words, but they don't offer you community. So it still feels isolating. So I just appreciate this.
Great. Thanks, Christina. Wonderful. Anything else? All right. Well, if you've got any feedback, we certainly would love it. There'll be a survey that comes out after our session today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this Best Practices Masterclass. Christina, one other thought? Oh, that was just a wave. Okay, good. If you raise your hand, I'm going to call on you. So I'll wave to everyone. Hope you have a great weekend. Thanks for being part of our community. Gaia, it's now 2 a.m. Thank you for hanging in there. Anjani, I know it's 11 p.m. or 12 a.m. for you. Thank you so much for joining us. Everyone be safe and have a great weekend. Thank you.